Hello everybody. I can't believe we do this chanting, First, we chant some Japanese we can't pronounce. And then we chant something about 100,000 million kalpas. I mean, unbelievable. Oh, we could just stop doing that. And to the extent that I decide that we continue, it's like I would like you to notice that it's there to blow your mind. We all come in here with some thoughts and concerns that we have, and it's like you're living your life and you have problems, and they might be more or less depending. And then your mind gets blown. It's like some interruption, something really different. Now, if you allow it, I think it would be like you just get drawn into the sound or into the not understanding of the 100,000,000 blah kalpas. You don't even know what a kalpa is. It's just a lot. Yeah, something like that. It's the last talk I will give before the end of the year. We'll close the center for a week. No zazen, no talks. You get to follow your longing for intimacy during the Christmas time. That's how I define for myself what Christmas is about. It's a longing for intimacy. Sometimes it doesn't work. Longing remains unfulfilled. We try to fulfill it with stuff, consumption. We'll try to fulfill it with family relationships. Good luck. But it's true, there is this longing. It's very true. I wish we would respond to that longing every moment, not just a certain time of the year. But anyway, I'm actually just feeling kind of the new year and how this new year in many people brings out longing for new beginnings. Like, I want to reflect on my life and how's it going, and could I do something different, and what are my intentions? The famous New Year's resolutions that last for a day or two. And my sense is that if we are not defining ourselves as practitioners for a moment, then we can feel somewhere that this longing for new beginnings, or the intention to do something different, happens within a cultural framework. It happens within what our culture considers important or good. You want to be successful and feel materially, financially secure, and you want to have good health, and you want to have satisfaction in your relationships. You want to, I think, in a society that feels relatively secure financially, then you can start to move your intention into the quality of your experience in all kinds of ways. You want to have satisfying experiences at work, your work environment, in your leisure time, meaningful experiences, and then meaning. You want to have a meaningful existence, and it's not entirely clear what that is. What's meaningful. You could, in a way, what I'm spelling out, you could, I think, understand that as your search for happiness. I have a very conflicted relationship with the word happiness. Yesterday we had a holiday party, and we get book donations now and then, and then we look through the books and see what's already in our library and what's not in our library, and things that are not in our library, we're running out of space, we keep. And then yesterday I said, these books, are up for grabs. And people could look through the books. And there were a lot of books by the Dalai Lama, multiple copies of books about happiness. And I'm like, the Dalai Lama has no problem with the word happiness. Why do I have a problem? The Dalai Lama just says, life is about finding true happiness. Something like that, And what's wrong with that? That seems right. Well, the reason I'm conflicted about the word happiness is because it has a ring to me of dividing the world into good and bad experiences, like that happiness is about maximizing good experiences, and unhappiness is to fall into the pit of bad experiences. So our striving in life must be about maximizing good experiences and minimizing bad experiences. Or that the ultimate achievement would be that you are living a life with only good experiences. That's how happiness sounds to me sometimes, or when I listen underneath the words of what I feel humans are what they're striving for. Now, just a quick reflection: is it possible to only have good experiences? And then we know, no, it's not possible. So I guess if somebody like the Dalai Lama speaks about happiness, there has to be some qualifier, true happiness, not this unrealistic fantasy of happiness. So then I can accept it. Now there's some commitment, and I don't think just in ourselves. I don't think it's just in you as an individual, like you've made a decision. I think we overestimate how much we function through our own decisions. It's not just in us individually, but in the culture there is some commitment to achievement. Achieving improvement, a constant striving for improvement and achievement. as a relatively, no, how can I say this? As a newcomer to this American culture. I mean, newcomer, I don't know. Well, I've been here 25 years, so. I'm still kind of surprised when I hear political speech, how, like, basically something nobody disagrees with is that hard work is really good. Hard-working Americans. You hear that ring? I mean, maybe you're so familiar with it. It's like, if you put in hard work, this is just great. Hard, it has to be hard. Not just work. It's got to be hard work. If you put in hard work, you can achieve anything. I mean, you can just make your life any way you want. The sky is the limit. You have dreams, go work hard and achieve them. Right? If you don't, it's your fault. You didn't try hard enough. You didn't work hard. You were lazy. It's clear. Everyone agrees with that. If you work hard, you can play hard. It's got to be hard. Don't work soft or play soft. That's not cool. There's a book called The Burnout Society. Byung-Chul Han is a South Korean philosopher who mostly lives in Germany and teaches there, I understand. But he's got this idea that I think is quite important, that there's been a shift from a disciplinary society to an achievement society. Like in a disciplinary society, it's like, don't do this. You're not allowed to do this. Keep within the boundaries of what the norms of what is acceptable, and don't, live outside of that, or else you'll get punished. Whereas an achievement society is like, you can do all these things. But if you then don't achieve all the things you can do, which is kind of our understanding of freedom in this society, you get punished by life, and it's your own fault. So he thinks that, we have actually arrived in a society of self-exploitation. We're not just exploiting, say, other countries or other people, slaves, resources to other countries. We're exploiting ourselves as a resource in the name of achievement, and that's what leads to burnout. Also, I think, to anxiety in the sense of underachieving all the time. Like in this achievement society, there's a lot of comparison. Like, look at what other people are able to achieve and I can't. And I think there's some truth to it. It's you can't just, I'm generalizing and you may be different, but I'm trying to set up a contrast and to make a point. So it's not, I'm not diagnosing every one of our individual lives. But it's true to me, it feels true to me that often even our leisure time and vacation time is under the spell of achievement. You've got to travel and experience things. And if you don't experience things and you don't take photos that look good on social media, you've accomplished nothing with your vacation. You just hung out somewhere. No, you didn't go anywhere. You just stayed at home. That's not right. So I'm just speaking that way is to maybe bring attention to that thread in your own experience. Is that not that it's 100% true, but there's something true about this. This is like, how come that you feel driven or, restless, that things seem to be happening at a pace that's too fast for us in a way. This is one of the things that I'm studying right now. A question that I hold is like, why does nobody have any time anymore? It's weird. Like, maybe you're retired and you're financially secure and you feel like maybe you have too much time. I don't know. You're like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, I've got to go somewhere. Maybe I haven't been to Malaysia, Let's go there. But people my age with a job and maybe kids have no time. It's like everyone I talk to my age doesn't read anymore. Or maybe 10 minutes here and there, like before you go to bed. But it's not time to read. Why? There's no time to drop by somebody's house and find that they're going to be there, like on a weekend, and are able to receive you. I mean, you've got to set it up. You've got to schedule it. You've got to find time in your schedule to make time for your friend to, meet in 2 months on a Wednesday. How did that happen? I was born in 1971. My father had a veterinary practice, so he owned his own business. He woke up early. He had to work hard. There's lots to do, I never had the feeling that there was no time. I mean, he was an avid reader. There were people who came over to the house. It was I don't know. That world that I grew up in is gone. It's not the same. And I'm really you can read about it and you can find explanations of why that is and so forth, and that often makes sense to me. And so, but I still just want to sit there with it as a kind of conundrum, like what is going on? And I feel a little bit rebellious. It's like, I don't want to live in that world. I don't agree. And maybe I could do something different. So let me take a hard turn here after setting it up this way. When you start practicing, what do? We all have our sort of ways of how we've gotten interested in the practice. For me, it was very kind of accidental, and I just want to tell the story this way as if it happened to you that way too, even though I understand it didn't happen for you that way. But I got into Zen practice because a roommate of mine, when I was living in San Francisco, just being in America for the first time, she said, well, on Sundays I'll go listen to these Zen lectures. You want to come? And I didn't have much else to do. I was kind of depressed. And I said, sure, I'll come. And then I arrive there and I go to the Zendo and somebody's saying, you've got to take your shoes off here and, do it like that. And when you go in, you bow and then, sit down, don't don't move around. And then there was some minimal it was a public lecture, there was minimal instruction for how to bring attention to your breath. And so I felt like I was just sat down. Sit down. It really felt that way, and I was not supposed to. I mean, there was a period of meditation before the talk. So, just sit down, shut up. And I don't, it always feels that way still. It's like, sit down, shut up, So, and this is kind of a first act. You just sit down. And here you are, sitting down, a posture somehow between lying and standing. Lying is kind of restful, you're tending towards sleep, and standing is wakeful, whereas you have to kind of keep yourself up against the pull of gravity. You may not think about that, but it's necessary. And in sitting, it's sort of like you can be both restful and alert. So there's something to that posture. And so you just sit down. And then you notice things when you sit down. When you interrupt the flow of your activity, as I've just pointed out, in many ways rented out to a culture of achievement, where you're supposed to do something and create something and make something happen for yourself in the name of happiness and satisfaction. You stop. You're just sitting down, and then you notice something. What do you notice? Because so much of our life is rented out to this achievement society. It's like you think about stuff, and there's a lot of stuff on your mind. You need to do this and that, and organize this, and make time for that, and so forth. And that stuff is on your mind. So you notice this, not every bit of it, but you notice the way your mind is propelled forward in this kind of way. So you could say you're noticing your thinking, your discursive activity. I mean, if you're already a practitioner, you may have developed a judgmental relationship to your discursive mind. But right now, I'm just saying you're noticing it. It's happening. It's there. Yeah, it's not good or bad. It's just happening. And maybe you feel a certain kind of drivenness in it, and fueled by certain feelings of anxiety or, dissatisfaction. Maybe it's fueled by excitement or happiness too, at times. Then, if you sit for a longer period of time, which would be the prescription when I arrived at the door of that practice center, it's like, well, we'll sit for half an hour. Okay. And then, because it's on the cushion and stuff, it gets a bit uncomfortable. So, gee, when is this over? But again, I just want to say, what are you noticing? You're noticing the body. And this is important. If you've listened to me before, it's a very important distinction that I make is between the physical body and the felt body. You're not just noticing the physical body, like this object in space, you're noticing the body as a felt body. You notice what you feel in the region of your body. If you're in your head a lot, you may not have much of a relationship with the felt body, which we could interpret as a kind of protective, a defensive strategy, not conscious, but non-conscious defensive strategy of like, if you're in your head making plans, thinking about the past, how you carry the present forward into the future, so forth, you can cut yourself off, like about here, from feeling too much in this felt body, which saves you from all kinds of bad, meaning unpleasant, sensations. Because the body is full of unpleasant sensations, particularly if you sit around for half an hour in the same posture without moving. Might not be terrible, but it's like something hurts here and something itches there, and you feel a certain restlessness at the base of your existence, and all that is not just pleasant. So you sit down, you find your mental activity, and you find your felt body is not entirely just great. And this felt experience is in some ways more real than what you're thinking, right? It is so intimate. It is so much you. When you listen to mindfulness teachers and stuff, and there's this like the present moment, be in the present moment. The slogan of the 70s, Ram Dass, be here now. We understand now that somehow a spiritual life has to do with having to arrive in the present moment. But here you are, you just sat down and you're feeling your felt body, which is, what's the moment in which that's happening? Now. And you're making a connection with this felt body, and this is the now of your experience. And if it's not pleasant, it's really understandable that you want to get away from it. This is something you can find out directly when you sit down. Is like, I don't want to be in the present moment. There's something to achieve down the line that's better than this present moment. See, if you think about it intellectually, it's like, there's this, idea for progress and improvement and so forth. But what I'm talking about, when you sit down, you feel you feel some unpleasantness, actual pain, or you just feel bored. You want to get away from it. You want to entertain yourself. Now you get instruction and say like, okay, so now you've sat down and you feel your mental activity and you feel your body. So now what do? Got to entertain yourself. Need some instruction. Just sitting, it's not hard work. So do something. Do productive spiritual work. Luckily, you get an instruction which is like, bring attention to your breath. So you work hard at doing. No, I'm sorry, I'm getting hung up on that. You work on bringing attention to breathing, and so I always like to say, because I think it's important, the breath is not a thing. It's not something you can bring attention to. Like you can bring attention to this object. Zen teachers always have a stick so that they have, just like philosophers have the table to talk about, Zen teachers have the stick to talk about. You just need an object. So, what was I going to say?
Breath as object, or as not an object?
Yeah, thank you. The breath is not an object like the stick. The breath is a set of ever-changing sensations. Even that is like not quite right to say, because so you bring attention to breathing, the sensations of breathing, and there's different locations where you could observe the sensations of breathing. You could observe them at the tip of your nose, which some schools recommend. You can observe them in how your lungs expand and contract. You can bring it below the diaphragm to in Japanese, the word would be the tanden, Chinese, the dantian, into the abdominal area, and you feel the breath through the movement of the diaphragm. So already there, where are you going to feel the sensations? You can feel them all at once, but there is some expansion, some contraction through the body. Now, if you observe what maybe we could call the subtle breath, you can start to feel that the breath is actually affecting, in a subtle way, all parts of the body. So whatever you do is actually the exploration of what it means to bring attention to breathing. That's what you're doing. And you discover, if you're exploratory enough in your mind, you discover these locations, the way it feels, the coarse aspects of breathing, the subtle aspects of breathing. All stuff that our society does not emphasize at all as something valuable. I mean, you didn't learn that in school. So when we take on practice, it's a pretty new activity. It's actually a new exploration. Something you can take interest in, something you can feel massively bored by. Bring attention to the breath. I mean, is there something more unproductive than observing something that's happening all the time? By itself. But now something happened for me, and now I'm kind of, we'll talk about a bit of progression in how you can experience what we call practice as Buddhist practitioners. Something happens, it's like if you do it long enough, if you bring attention to the sensations of breathing, some kind of merging happens. Breath and attention merge. They become something new. They become, for the lack of a better word, breath attention. And the reason I'm calling it breath attention is because you can, with your intention, which is the way the mind can direct. Intention is a word for how the mind can direct attention. With your intention, you can direct this breath attention to different parts of your body. The first time I encountered this idea was in some kind of bodywork type thing that I felt like I needed to do for health reasons before I was a meditator. And, there's these bodywork people. And for an ordinary person, they they talk in a way that's a little bit gibberish, like breathe into your, you can breathe into your leg. Oh, I thought I was breathing in my lung. Oh, okay. So what is that, to breathe into your leg? Well, now I would say, of course, it's possible. When you have merged attention and breath sensations, you can direct this breath attention into different parts of the body. I can breathe into my left leg. I can breathe into my shoulder. And what is it? It's like, because breath is expansion and contraction in the body, and the feeling of that, you can sort of bring attention and feel a certain kind of opening and spaciousness in your shoulder when you breathe into it. Now, I'm just encouraging you to experiment. So the body, the felt body becomes a kind of playing field for breath attention to move around in. Well, something happens there. You're practicing and developing what we could call an attentional body. A body soaked through with attention. In the beginning, you may have to work at it softly, gently. You work gently with bringing attention to breath, and then bringing attention to parts of the body, and then bringing attention to the whole of the body, in a way that once the whole body can be suffused with attention, it almost feels like, each breath you take is permeating the whole of the felt body. I'm talking this way. Maybe you have this experience already, then it's a kind of confirmation. Maybe you don't have that experience that way, then I'm giving you some kind of encouragement, but also permission to experience yourself that way. You might find different words for it. I'm just struggling to put my words to this experience. Now, if we're staying true with the process of what happens when you sit down, attention is so used to snapping back into the thinking mind, trying to work something out, whatever you're trying to work out. You might be working out the future, or you might be working out the past. That for pretty long periods of time in practice, it can feel like you are just going back and forth between being invested in your thinking mind and coming back to this breath-body-attentional space. This takes some persistence to work out. But there came a point in my practice where that struggle quieted down. It's like, I'm not even working hard at not thinking. It's just like, well, thoughts float around sometimes, but what I find is that when I sit down, I'm kind of immediately plunged into the felt body and this sense of a breath-body-attention space. And that I started to feel good about hanging out there. And there is there's an opening there for finding satisfaction in a different way that has nothing to do with achievement. Nothing. This breath-body-attentional space, right, is already yours. You may have not attended to it for a long time, but it's already yours. You don't have to achieve it. It'd be like if somebody said to you, you've got to achieve your leg, right? How do you achieve your leg? You already have a leg. There's nothing to achieve there. But then on the other hand, are you feeling your leg? So there's something to do here, even though you don't have to achieve anything. It's like you are allowing yourself to become present within your own body. So, like now I want to kind of make one other transition here. It's like when you think about time, when we think about time, usually we think about a succession of moments. This, one moment, next moment, this one is gone already, now the next one comes. So it's a succession, and it's a depending on how small you want to make your moments, it's a rapid succession. The time is running, flying, moving, hurrying. It's almost already the end of the year. So there's the succession of present moments in our thinking, right? But the dropping into the body with attention and letting attention spread out through the body is more something like I want to call presence. You're discovering a presence of yourself. And now, this is something to really get. This presence isn't going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It didn't come from anywhere, and it's not going anywhere. It's not something you had to achieve through hard work, and it's also not something that comes through the confirmations of others. It's not given to you by others, and is not achieved by yourself. It's just there. It's just there. It's a presence, and from the point of view, when you say like it's not coming and it's not going, well, what is it? Does it have no time? Yeah, it's a kind of timeless presence. In medieval philosophy, they made a distinction between the fluent now and the standing now. The fluent now is what we just described, it's a succession of moments. And then there's the standing now. Yeah, I would like you to discover this, the standing now presence that you find actually within yourself. It's like, there's all kinds of things coming and going, right? Like I'm waving this around. Boo. There's sounds coming, we have cars outside there. There's always these sounds of the cars. Like, people are going places. If you turn attention around within and you discover this attentional body presence, everything that's coming and going is coming and going within that attentional presence. But the attentional presence isn't going anywhere. It's standing, and to use that terminology. It's staying. if we want to free ourselves from the idea that happiness is to maximize good experiences and minimize bad experiences, it's important to discover this space, this presence that's not going anywhere, and finding satisfaction in it. Finding it to be satisfaction. Contentment, as I like to say. Contenere means to hold together. So this presence, we could say, this is creative etymology, but it's holding everything. It's holding everything together in a space. And in that space, this requires practice. In that space, you can allow pleasant experiences and unpleasant experiences. You can come to the conclusion that not everything in our lives will be pleasant, and that there will be unpleasant experiences, and because you are discovering this presence, you become more and more willing to allow unpleasant experiences to come. When you say coming and going, is always like, yeah, I want that to go. So letting go, but letting go, as I like to say, means to let it come. That is letting go. To let go means to let go of your resistance, and that means to let it come. Let it come. You feel funky today. Let it come. It is, to conclude, it's not unimportant. All the factors of conventional happiness are not unimportant. Nobody's saying, if you say that, that's foolish. It's not unimportant to not take care of yourself materially or financially, or to have satisfying relationships and so forth. This is not unimportant. It's very important. The question I hold for myself and for you is like, how do you go about that? What is the basis from which you go about that? And I'm suggesting that this is simple practice that we have allows us to discover a bodily anchored attentional space in which we can learn to tolerate unpleasant experiences. We don't have to run away. We can more fully absorb and deeply enjoy pleasant experiences. And we can find time to work out some improvement if that's necessary. Not everything will be improved. Some things might be improved. You become practical about this stuff. This practical improvement of certain aspects of your life can be very compelling. You get sucked into it, the way you get sucked into your thinking, right there. And now you're in this project, and you've got to change your relationship. Or you've got to change. You've got to improve that porch. It's intolerable. And then you get sucked. So then you sit down, bring attention to breathing, body, and your sensorial experience, and see if you can let this presence come together in which everything is appearing and disappearing, and you're finding some satisfaction it feels almost like hosting the world. This is your life. This is your aliveness. Not life as a lifespan. This is your aliveness right now that's not going anywhere. Can you enjoy it? It's an incredible world. It's an incredible display that is occurring within this mind-body presence. Thank you very much.